Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcast, where we could celebrate the great things in life, share about the not so great parts, and find out how we can rewrite those challenges, turn them into insightful moments that will lead us to change, to growth, to happiness, and empowerment, all so that we can live the life we truly want to experience. In today's episode, we are going to take a deep dive into resistant thought patterns and what are they really trying to tell us. I know so many times we feel like that urge of like resistance and we don't know how to move forward, but in fact, it's not so much that we don't know how to move forward, it's actually that our thoughts are trying to tell us something. Okay, so have you ever had a project or something that you had to do, had to start, and you kind of started it, and then all of a sudden you get to a standstill and you get to a point where the directions aren't really clear and they're not really guiding you in the right direction? You feel like there's something missing. Well, that can actually lend itself to be favorable to you. When you have a resistant thought, it's almost like your mind is telling you there has to be a better way. There has to be a different way, maybe easier, maybe more enjoyable. And these are the type of like internal signs that you really have to listen to. So, for instance, when you have a resistant mindset or you have a resistant like thought pattern, it's because instinctually you know that there's a different way. You just haven't discovered what that way is. So, to give you a little bit of an example, then that's really almost like a guiding point for you. Um, so I'm a creative person, right? I've mentioned that in the other video, but I am a creative person, but I'm also a very structured person. I love order, I love organization, kind of like a type A type of person. But in that order, it allows things to make sense to me. My mind almost turns into like a computer and the information goes into like different categories, and it makes like synchronized sense. So I understand that this point is going to get to the next point and they kind of like flow together, and it's able to give me like a full view of something. But when I don't have that, when I don't have that order and I can't kind of like categorize that information, what it actually does is it appears to be like chaos to me. And instead of being able to be creative and figure out like harmonious ways to make things work together, the chaos, I'm almost distracted by the chaos. So it doesn't allow me to be creative. It doesn't allow me to be open minded and be creative and think outside the box because I'm too distracted with the chaos. My mind's not registering it as like cohesive information. You know what I mean? So with that, I'm going to have resistant thought patterns where what the resistant is, I can't move forward. I can't figure this out and things of that nature. It's not that I'm not able, capable, or it's not possible. It's just that the way that my brain works, that's not the best way to maximize my abilities. So, in knowing the way that I work best and knowing the way that my mind works best, that's really going to help with the resistant mindsets because you're going to know what's favorable to your thinking and learning process versus what's not. And then you'll know how to shift the environment that way so that it is more favorable. You're able to see what works for you. And some people thrive in chaos. Some people, that is where they get to be creative because it's almost like a puzzle. There's this mess and they really have to figure it out. And that in and of itself is a beauty, is a work of art. So I'm not saying there's one better than the other. There's just differences. And once you're able to discover what is the one that works best for you, then you're able to see those resistant thought patterns and say, okay, it's not that I'm incapable of doing something. It's just that in this format, this formula just doesn't work for me. It doesn't suit me in the best manner. So you got to figure out what works for you. And of course, learning what works for you, you also have to learn what doesn't work for you so that when you come across these things, you know what to look out for and you're not so hard on yourself. But you realize that these instances are actually teaching you a little bit about yourself. So I would avoid ignoring that voice within, that I would avoid ignoring those like resistance because it's telling you something. It's telling you that there is a better way, a different way, easier way. You just got to be open minded enough to figure out what that would be. And find your element, find your environment, whatever that is, because the best version of you is going to be lit up, it's going to be excited, it's going to be motivated, and you're going to be passionate about something, whether it's problem solving or whether it's actually creating something. The beauty of the mind is when it has the ability to tap into its critical thinking. It allows you to see different variety, different versions, different angles of things. And that allows you to be more diverse in your thinking. And not just that, it then springs you to be an independent thinker, because there's a million ways to get to a result, right? There's so many different ways. That's the beauty of life. There's not just one way of doing things. There's various ways. So find what works best for you, because being stuck in a routine that doesn't serve you, it doesn't nourish you, it doesn't excite you, life will become mundane. And that's not the type of life that you want. It's not fun. That's when you'll start getting so irritated with the little things in life, and you'll start nitpicking at everything. And you're going to get to a point that you're going to be like, oh my God, I do complain about life way more than I enjoy it. And that's not what you want. That's not the best way to maximize your time. That's not the best way to live your life. But that is something that is in your control. So I would advise you to take control of that. Find out what works best for you, because only you know. Only you know. Like I've said before, people could give you advice, people could give you tips and tricks and different ways to figure out how to find the authentic version of you. And some of that advice, you'll take bits and pieces of it. Some of it you'll listen to wholeheartedly, and it will really align with you. But ultimately, you have the choice, and actually, you have to do the kind of like internal digging to see what is the true, authentic version to you, where you can enjoy everything in life. Because let's face it, there's some things we have to do. Whether we like it or not, we have to do it. So if we have to do it, why not find the way that it's the most enjoyable, and only you know what that is. So definitely be fair to yourself and give yourself those little exercises and see in areas where you feel a little bit of resistance, regardless of what it is, whether it's something little or something big. I would advise with something small, right? Start with something small, because you're able to see that transition quicker. When you try to tackle something too big, you might be too intimidated without actually being able to like work out some of the kinks in something small. So find something small that irritates you. See why it irritates you, and see if there's a different way that you can handle it. If you can make a choice, if you can change things, how would you change it? What would you do different? And kind of play with it around that way until you find your best course of action. Another example that I can give you is I love, with my daughter, she is about to be 14, and I love to empower her with knowledge. I don't like to criticize her or like reprimand her, because I don't think that that is going to allow her to have independent thinking, and that's really important to me. I really want her to have independent thinking. So the best way for me to do that is to nourish that versus try to stunt it by only giving her my advice, my direction, my way of doing it. Like the old, version, like the old generation would say, do it because I said so. That doesn't give any element of growth, substance, nourishment, or, insightful wisdom. All it is saying, my way is the right way, and just follow that. But to the person receiving that advice or that direction, it does nothing. You can't grow from it. So I would hate to rob anyone from an opportunity of growing and being better and finding things that they have to do, just finding the right way to enjoy it, So that's something too where I apply it everywhere, is just feel like it's so good to empower others, because once they're able to feel like they have more control and more, then they're able to be responsible for the understanding of it. And once they are responsible for the understanding of a situation, a topic, a matter, then they become more invested in a solution or a result, right? Because their opinion matters, their voice matters. So they are going to give you valuable feedback, or at least valuable contribution. And that is it's immensely wonderful because that's where you're able to get like progress, right? So nobody wants to stay stagnant, nobody wants to stay still. We constantly want to evolve and grow and be nourished, and the best way to do that is by starting with yourself. And of course, if you need a little bit more guidance with that, I did create a download and it is called The Right Direction, because it is up to you to figure it out. We can give you tools, we can give you insight, but ultimately it is up to you to find that internal compass that's going to lead you to the right direction that best works for you, for the overall view, for the overall picture of your life. It's going to be smoother, greater, and a better overall experience if you're able to find your synchronized compass. And as always, I will link it down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe. And share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.